What's up, guys? Jared Welch, RacingDudes.com. We are in full Derby mode. This is it. This is like we're in. This is the last week before the week of the Kentucky Derby. And as we do every year, we take a look at every single horse. We comb through them and kind of give you guys an analysis of what we think of them before they draw their post position. So today, I'll be looking at several horses. First up on my list will be number one. I mean, this is the number one in the points, 155 points, leader in the clubhouse, so to speak, Sierra Leone. Not a lot of bad things to say about this horse. So what I'll do is I'll go through and kind of give you the basics of the horse, and then we can kind of go through and say, kind of give an analysis of how I feel about the horse, kind of the pros and cons, those kind of things. And obviously, as we get, the posts, the post draw, and we know who's in and who's out, that can change things. But for now, here's kind of the stats behind the horse. So trainers, Chad Brown has not won a Kentucky Derby, although he's been close. 0 for 7 in the Kentucky Derby. His best finish was Good Magic. Of course, that was the year Justify won. Unfortunately for him, because Good Magic may have won both the Derby and the Preakness that year. Really, his best horse as far as the Derby goes. We just ran into a freak, Justify, and maybe Justify shouldn't even been in the race. But we won't go there. Jockeys T-Gaff, Tyler Gaffalione, 0 for 6 in the Derby. So both these guys will be looking for their first Derby wins. Best finish was 7th with War of Will in 2019. Of course, so that was the DQ year. Sierra Leone has got 4 starts. This is, that's the thing about him. He's lightly raced, but he's also very seasoned, which is kind of a rare combo there with a lot of these horses. 4 starts, 3 wins, 1 second. His only loss has been to Dornoch, which is kind of crazy to say out loud, but lost to Remsen in just a really, really good race back in December. Dornoch won, and then, of course, he came out and won the Risen Star, and then came and won the Bluegrass. So, has rattled off back-to-back graded stakes wins, including Grade 1 in the Bluegrass. Since that maiden special weight, it's been straight to stakes races. So, again, like I say, he's lightly raced, only 4 starts. Will be making his 5th start in the Kentucky Derby, but he's got that seasoning with the kind of quality races that you're looking for with the Derby Contender. $918,000 in earnings. Is a son of Gunrunner out of a Malibu Moon mare. So the price tag on this horse, $2.3 million, actually is the highest cost for any horse that was nominated this year for the Triple Crown. So obviously the expectations have been there from day one. You can ask Chad Brown. He loves this horse. He has nothing negative to say about the horse. I think this might be, time will tell. Obviously he was not ready to be he didn't make a start till, basically the Breeders' Cup, not at the Breeders' Cup, but November 4th. And so he wasn't ready to get there, but, Good Magic was kind of a different horse for that. He was more of a 2-year-old, then kind of transitioned to 3. But this horse seems to be kind of peaking at the right time, and maybe is his best shot to finally get, this is one of the only races he's not won, right, for Chad Brown. So I think this, there's really not a lot of negative things to say. Obviously, he's number 1 on the list for a reason. His issues are pretty simple, and his positives are pretty simple. His positives, he's as true as they come. He might be the truest horse in the whole race. Like, he shows up every time. Even the race he lost, he showed up. Just couldn't quite finish the job that day in the Remsen, but you can count on him making his run at the end of that race every time. He's got a nice turn of foot. It kind of feels like when it's time to go, he goes. Like, there's not a lot of concerns of it taking a little bit of time. You can watch his races. You go back and watch the Bluegrass. Like, yeah, he was pretty far out of it, but as soon as T-Gaff was like, "Hey, let's go," you could see him kind of picking him off. So it's a nice kind of attribute to have in the Derby when it's time to go. It's he can push that button and go. Again, lightly raced. That's another positive. And, he's a big horse. He's a big, solid, $2.3 million horse. Like, he looks good. He's a big horse, which means a lot in this kind of race, because there are going to be, some banging around and horses getting shuffled and here and there. And having a horse that's got some size is definitely not a bad thing. And we'll talk about that as a negative, possibly, in another capsule with fierceness. So those are the positives. Really, the only concern you have for him for Sierra Leone is his running style. I mean, that's, we've seen, I mean, arguably you could say we've seen better horses in Sierra Leone that have his similar running style that get stopped in the Kentucky Derby. It's a tough race. There's usually 19 other horses to battle with, and obviously traffic issues happen, and it happens almost every year. Every single Derby, there's the tell the tape where you look at it and you're like, well, he ran well, but look at the traffic he got into. Maybe I'll bet him next time in the Belmont. You look at Mo Donegal that year where he was so far outside. I mean, he ran pretty well. Just maybe needs a little bit more. Creator's another one for me that I bet back in the Belmont after a tough Derby, things like that. So it's like he's going to be a victim, to his own kind of style. I don't. The key for TGAF is going to be able to get him out of trouble as best as he can, and most importantly, when the time comes to run, you're not giving him too much to do by having to weave around other horses and kind of go in and out. So there's a lot of positives, but the concern is limited, but it's there. It's very much a concern for me. I love him underneath. I want to also say too, I'm going to do this with every one of them. Like, what are the gate gate concerns? Like, I'll say that gate concerns, meaning like post position gate, like some horses I feel like are going to be very, like, once we hit the draw, you're like, oh man, like that's a terrible post position. I don't know if I could play him anymore. I would say Sierra Leone is pretty low on my list as far as like my concern. Would I like for him to be drawn, outside, that mid to outside? Yes, I think that would be ideal. But his style, I mean, he kind of just gets out of the gate and kind of drops back, and then they do the running later. So I would be I'm not too concerned with his post position. I think the gate concern could be there a little bit just after the bluegrass. I mean, I think we all thought this horse might be scratched at the gate. He did not want to go in. He was not happy. And he finally got in. They said the crowd, kind of they load right there by the crowd there at Keeneland, but it's like that ain't going to get any better in the Derby. So that's a little bit of concern, I guess. But that's never been really an issue for him. So I would be surprised if it was again. But you never know. But again, if he gets the trip, guys, then he's got a big shot. I mean, he's got a big shot regardless, because I think he's one of the most talented horses in the race. But if he gets a trip, it's all going to be trip dependent for him. Obviously what fierceness does, like on their best days, say Sierra Leone gets his perfect trip and fierceness runs his perfect race. Well, I don't really think Sierra Leone can beat him, but his best chance of winning obviously is going to be a clean trip, the cleanest trip that he can have. So Sierra Leone for me is a huge play here. I depending on, he's going to probably be second choice in the race behind fierceness. So that is a little bit of a concern, but if you like him, I have no issues playing him, and I really don't have a lot of issues depending on where his post position is. So that are my thoughts on Sierra Leone. I think he's the real deal, and I can't wait to see what he does in the Kentucky Derby. Stay tuned, guys, for more of these horse capsules coming your way. We've got the whole field here at racingdudes.com. If you're on YouTube, just make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, because we have tons of YouTube Derby content headed your way. Until next time, see you guys.